Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven JavaScript video. I'm recording this on April 22nd, 2013, picking up a couple of weeks since we last recorded. In this chapter, we're working on getting smoke tests working end-to-end on our WeWikiPaint application. What we have in the last episode, we finished getting it set up so that we could run our smoke test using Phantom.js out of our smoke test file. And when we run that like this, it will actually run Phantom.js, our headless browser, and draw on the page and then take a picture of it. And that's really cool. I love that. The code to do that is right here inside of hello.js. And the problem with this is hello.js is a spike. It's just a bit of code to prove that we can run Phantom.js from our smoke test. So in this episode, what I'd like to do is get that set up properly running from our Jake file and have everything sort of smoothly checked in. A couple of housekeeping notes before we begin. I did install Node.js and upgraded that to 0.8.23, which means that I also updated our Node version in the Jake file. So if you're following along, you might want to upgrade to Node.js 0.8.23. I haven't installed 0.10 yet. It is out at the time I record this, but there are some potential breaking changes that I haven't really looked into yet, so I haven't gone into that yet. The other thing that I found over the break, I looked for different ways of running Phantom.js, and I didn't find anything I liked. There is a Mocha Phantom.js package, but the way it works is it actually wants you to pass in an HTML file, which is nothing other than a way of loading your Mocha test. It's not what we want here. What we want to do is actually load our real application. So that didn't seem appropriate. But what I did find, and this is pretty cool, I did find a better way of installing Phantom.js. Previously, I said that you should install Phantom.js yourself by downloading it and copying the binary to this build Phantom.js directory. Well, while I was looking around, I found out that there is an NPM module for Phantom.js that is really nothing more than a wrapper for downloading and installing Phantom.js for you. And I really like that because we already have instructions to run npm rebuild in our README. So if we have this Phantom.js in our repository and somebody runs npm rebuild, it will just install Phantom.js for them, which is great. So I want to get rid of this instruction, and then because I don't want to check in a 10 megabyte file into the source repository, normally I would. If I was working in a team-based environment where we're all in the same office on a high-speed network, absolutely, I'd check that executable in. I like all of my dependencies checked into source control. But in this case, since you guys are using different OSs and since you are also downloading this from GitHub, I didn't want to add a 10 megabyte or potentially 30 megabytes for all the different people out there. I didn't want to add that, all the different OSs, I didn't want to add that to the repository. That's something that I would not normally do. Yes, I would normally check this in, but just isn't appropriate in this circumstances. So this right here is where that gets installed. So if I delete that and then run npm rebuild, you'll see that pop back up. So what we need to do is add that to our git ignore. So that needs to be node modules Phantom.js lib phantom. And I've double checked that this does work on Windows as well. So let me just make sure node modules Phantom.js lib phantom. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and check that in. All right, that I think is a definite improvement. Now what I'd like to do is we've got our smoke test working, and that's fantastic. What we don't have, oops, what's going on here? Oh, I moved the executable, but I didn't change the test. So let me fix that real quick. So now that's in node modules / bin Phantom.js. Hopefully that will work. Yeah. And I'm just going to revise the last change. Okay. So we've got Node working, or we've got our smoke test working. The problem is it's in this funny little hello.js place. Now, I tried extracting this out into its own runner as an experiment over the break. It didn't work well because it really relies on all this other supporting stuff that we have in our smoke tests. So I think what I'm going to do is just copy this file into, I guess, next to the rest of our smoke tests. Right now, smoke test is run specially from our Jake file. So I think I'll just keep doing that. Right now, if you go down here and look at node test files or node files, you can see it's here, and we can do something similar here. So we'll want to fix that up a bit. I'll probably do that off camera though. So let's go ahead and copy this spike into here, and we'll call it, I don't know, phantom test or something like that. It's not a great name because everywhere else where we have something ending in underscore test is something we want to run directly. I guess I'll just call it phantom.js for now. I don't know, it's a bit iffy, but I can't think of a better way of doing it. And I want to modify this to look at source phantomjs.js, and that I'm hoping will still work if I got that right. Yeah, excellent. So if we change that and have it exit with an error code, our test should fail. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, so great. We've got that so it doesn't depend on the spike code anymore. Now what I'm going to do, I think off camera, I'm just going to quickly go through our Jake file and spiff it up. What I'd like to do is make a specific smoke test target because our smoke tests are really different than our server tests and our client tests. They're their own thing. So I'll do that and be back in a moment. Okay, I've grabbed the node unit runner out of the Automatopia lessons learned. That's lessons learned number 8. And here it is. It's in our build directory. And I've modified our test server code to use that instead. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new, this is going to say test server rather than test node. And then I'll make a new test just for running the smoke test. And actually, I think I will also do some other cleanup that's been long needed for this Jake file. I'll bring in some of the other Automatopia utilities and just move a lot of the code out of this this Jake file, clean it up nicely. Again, you don't need to see that. It's just simple refactoring. But I wanted you to know that I was going to do it. So I'm going to do that. Be back in a moment. Okay, I've factored out all of the stuff that was in that Automatopia build, and I also factored out the version checking code as well. And that's made the Jake file much nicer. Now you can see that it's mostly just calling functions or modules in here. And the version checking code is much nicer as well. Now what I'm going to do, again, I think I'll continue to do this offline. I'm just going to make that test for smoke task that I was talking about. Okay, I'm back. I've finished my changes to the Jake file. I'm really happy with it. Now we can run Jake smoke test and I mean, we can run Jake test smoke and it'll run the smoke tests, and it will also run them, interestingly, after our client test, which is actually good because the smoke test will tend to be slower, and we won't have to wait for it to finish running every time when we're just looking at our server and client tests. The code for that is inside of Jake file. Take a look. It's pretty straightforward. Now that I've factored out all that code into all these helpers, I'm really liking this. The smoke test code is just telling node unit to run with smoke test files. It's just that simple. So now that we've got that working, let's go back to our smoke test. I think the smoke test is pretty much done. It's, we say user can draw on page and we check the errors. So really what we need to do is focus on our phantom.js code here. I want to pull out this WeWikiPaint render piece. That's not so important. So I think what's next is is to somehow get this working with, well, we need to actually check to see if the real thing has been drawn. And the way we're going to do that, I think, is we'll look into the DOM and actually pull out the line segments. So that's sort of a whole new set of stuff. This has been a bit of a short episode. I've done a lot of work off camera, but I think I'm going to stop here. And then next time what we'll do is we'll pick up with the Raphael line segment test code, factoring that out and modifying our smoke test to check that. Maybe before I go though, we'll just double check. Yeah, I mean, we've got this code right here. We can see a drawing area. Obviously, we can actually manipulate the code in the browser. So yeah, I think that'll be it for this episode. Next time, we will actually start making assertions about whether or not the lines have been drawn. So I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.